Hey again, everyone. It's Mike and David back from JinbuPal for the day KC week 11. We actually, I was gone on vacation last week, so we kind of skipped a week. So technically it's week 12, but we're trying to stay through to the whole series for 12 weeks. So this is number 11. If you're just joining us, we're following along with David as he starts learning Mandarin using the JinbuPal app. And we've been tracking each week of his progress throughout this whole journey. So make sure you head back to the first video of the series by clicking the link in the top corner or in the video description below, and you can watch his progress all the way through from the very first week. So yeah, today we're going to catch up with David and see what his progress has been like in the last 2 weeks. How's it going, David?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Yeah,
I did a good bit of reading. I did a good bit of reading in the last few weeks on. I was reading *Sapiens* in Mandarin, and that's been pretty good. But haven't gotten too far in it yet.
cool. Yeah, these past 2 weeks have been good. I've been pretty consistent with my studying, just kind of day to day. Let me pull up my screen. Kind of similar to the past couple of weeks, I've been focused a lot on just like my retention, especially with a lot of the characters. One thing that I have started to do is go back and group a lot of characters by that all like share similar radicals. And so
Okay.
you can see like this is what I've been currently working on. I'll pick a bunch of characters that I either some of them I didn't even know the tone for yet, and I will kind of group them together and then really focus on those for a day. And I found that that's really helped me to make sure that I can pick out characters, amongst ones that look really similar. I found that's been really helpful as I go back and learn the tones for them. So that's been really good. I just kind of chug along with the tones. I've still been keeping up with my reading. I've found that it's been a lot easier for me to not use the trainer anymore. For people that haven't seen some of the earlier videos, with JinbuPal, we kind of have a Chrome extension that will highlight characters if you're reading just a random article on the web, based off of what you know in JinbuPal. And so I would go to an article, hit the little button in the extension, and it would highlight all these characters on the screen, which was kind of really helpful. And I've found myself getting a lot more comfortable just kind of diving into the reading. I still bring up the side-by-side English if they have that, but I guess kind of like I don't even necessarily know if I feel a whole lot more confident with sentence structure, but it's just a lot more easier. I feel more comfortable kind of tackling the sentences without having to point out everything I know. So that's been pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, I'd say. I mean, jumping back to the radicals real quick. That's one of the great things about having JinbuPal to do that with, because that I had trouble with that at first, and I mean sometimes there's a few that still trip me up sometimes, and I confuse them with other characters, and there wasn't any option for that. I just kind of had to manually go do it. I mean, it's not super easy to find those. So I think you're doing good by focusing on that, because that's a real challenge is noticing the differences between them. And a second thing is that you'll start noticing that difference a little bit better the more words you start learning in your reading, because you'll start to associate, there's some characters that maybe they show up really frequently, but there's only like one or two words that they ever show up in. And so you see the other character next to it in that word, and
kind of
you
just
pick it out and remember it. But if you see it by itself in JinbuPal, you're like, God, I can't remember the opinion for that.
yeah.
And I mean, I myself have had that issue going through JinbuPal, updating my account. Sometimes I'll see some that I'm just like, I get wrong. And then I'm like, oh, it's just because I see it in a word all the time. And if I saw it next to another character, I'd know it right away. But by itself, out of context, I'm like, what is this again? Like, I should know this. So that'll start to just come together over time, especially the more the reading starts to fit in with the words and the characters.
Yeah. Quick question. Is there a are these the same radical? This radical right here and this one?
You can tell that the first one is a little bit smaller than the other one.
Huh.
If you click on that, I won't be surprised if Huey would show up in there. Well, maybe they are the same. What I was guessing there is that if you look just next to, yeah, right there, the one you've got pinned, wait. I was thinking it
That
was
inside the
center, um, or similar to the ka, like kai, on the left there. But yeah, I don't know. We might have to check on that because they. Oh, okay. To be honest, I know, I use radicals to do what we're doing here,
mhm.
but in terms of going and knowing the actual meaning of individual radicals and how they, a lot of people go and study that stuff when they start out, like, what does this particular radical mean and how can that help me determine the meaning of a character? But since that's kind of misleading sometimes, I just went and learned the characters first,
Yeah.
and then I started noticing ones over time. And some of them are really easy to tell, like a hand or a person or water or something like that. But some of them, you just don't. It's not always straightforward. So,
One thing
so
that
long story short, I couldn't tell you exactly what that radical is because one of them it would be ko, which is a mouth, but why there's two separate ones, I'm not quite sure
yeah.
actually.
One thing that we might want to go back and add in is like the ability to, I don't know, maybe it's not necessary, but like I kind of wanted to be able to filter by multiple radicals at the same time.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So like,
Yeah,
because I would, do everything that kind of had that sort of boxy shape at one point I was looking at, right? And so I would have to
yeah,
look at this one. I would go in and,
yep,
a couple of these. Like you can kind of see like which ones I
yep. And I think that would be a great addition. And it's funny that you said that boxy because when I was first doing this myself, I built a spreadsheet and was going through and individually marking characters. And I had a whole category of characters literally that I labeled boxy. And I was going in and I grouped them together and all learned them. So you're thinking on the exact same lines that I do.
yeah.
And that it's really helpful because I mean, like there's so much similarity in these. And yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's still some like sounds that I'm having trouble with, like like
That's
is that how
good.
you say it? Ver,
Yeah.
or what's the word for? I think it's yu, like uh
You.
you
Yeah.
you.
You. It's so if you think kind of there's they pull up that pinion chart website real quick. Because the trick to doing that is the trick to some of the ones with the U is how you kind of hold your um, lips when you say it. So yeah, find the U in there. Oh, go to the.
Where is it? Oh,
There you go. Yeah. So you see, so any of these ones in this vertical column here, the trick is that you have to kind of, the way you hold your mouth is like um, the ones in the column that's further to the left with the U, like boo, poo, moo, foo. Those are just like that, poo, foo, moo. But these, you make your mouth kind of round at the end of it, like this, and so you would say that as you. So if you hold your mouth in that kind of round shape, it makes the sound, and another good way to do this is to say you. So by changing your mouth while you're making the sound,
Mm-hmm.
you can notice how it changes it. So all of these is you, hu, nu, you, q. So like that's the other big difference between CHU and QU would be chu versus q, chu, q, chu, q, or SHU versus XU, shu, 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 shu. So yeah, that gives you a better idea seeing those all together. And the other one, you see the LU with the umlaut over the U. There's also a regular LU, so that's lu and lu.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
So, yeah. I find that to always be really helpful, is that if you watch a video or see something that's suggesting that you have to hold your mouth a certain way or put your tongue in a certain position to do something, just practice doing what they say and then move your tongue or your mouth into a different shape as you're making the sound, and you'll notice how it changes.
Yeah. No, that's good tip. I really need to like practice some of the harder ones a lot more. I might need to pick back up that Pinion app I was using.
I think those are some of the harder ones, and definitely the ones excuse me, that start with for me, when I did it, some of the harder ones was the ones that start with the X, so like xi and xi, xia, that sort of thing. Or with a J, like for example, Jiu, Jiu. I would say Zhou, which is ZHOU. So those can be a little challenging.
Is it Joe?
Yeah. Okay. Joe and Geo. It's like a Geo.
Yeah.
But
what about ZHE, like some of these Z sounds? Like,
so with the or the one below it means car. Ch, 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 sh, r, and like the RE versus the RI, as we discussed, I think in the last week's video, it's a R versus R. And so that can be easy to confuse when you're not quite used to it. You might see the RI and say R when you really mean R, or the other way around.
Yeah. When it comes to like listening, would you take the same approach that I've been using for reading, where like you kind of just dive head first into the deep end and like listen to complex stuff, or like should I be balancing that also with some more basic listening, or like?
I have always picked kind of complex stuff, but that's coming from me. I've said tons of times on this series, I have a long way to go in my listening, and I think a lot of that is because I'll be listening to something and I run across a bunch of vocabulary that I don't know, so it's tying in all of that into the process. I'm learning new vocabulary as I'm listening. Maybe there's some new characters in there, although that's a lot rarer now. It's mainly new word combinations. So if you can find simple content and that's helpful to you, then I would say go for it. I like to pick just, especially if you're just trying to get the feel for hearing a sound or not, rather than picking out a particular word, then it doesn't really matter that much what somebody's saying. You're just listening for the tones and stuff, and maybe you'll grab a few words out of that.
Yeah.
But then as you learn more and more, it also depends on just how much time you have and what you're doing. You know, like the most important thing is that you're continuing and maintaining learning in a way that's effective. You know, so if you have time in the day to listen to a podcast on your drive to work, then do that. But if you have even more time and you can sit down in front of your computer, pull up a YouTube video so that you can follow along with subtitles, that's even better. But don't hold yourself to doing YouTube if you don't have time, you know?
Yeah.
I would recommend the YouTube. That's probably the easiest way, but whatever makes you actually do it is the better way to go.
Yeah.
You just want to get yourself a lot of time used to doing it. And one other thing, you know, what I would like to do more personally, I find because content ends up being complex, if you're looking for something that is the least bit interesting, so you actually care about listening to it, it's going to have a lot of vocabulary in it. So you will have that process of having to learn more words as you're doing it.
Yeah.
But I have found when I'm talking with somebody, I understand much more than when I'm listening to something that I'm not involved in the dialogue, because I could change which words I use. Somebody could tell I don't understand. They can change their vocabulary, and it's an interactive process, you know?
Gotcha.
So that helps over time too. Yeah, I feel like there was something else I was going to say, but I can't remember.
No, I think that's good. And I think that, the subtitles in YouTube would definitely be a benefit for me. Because at least like I can have another kind of touch point to like double check. Because if I'm just listening to like a random podcast, I'll probably have no idea, like at least at the stage I am, of what I'm listening to. Besides like pulling out certain words, maybe.
Yeah, and you start to get a grasp of like more and more. You have a few words that you recognize, and maybe you hear something, you're like, I should know that, and then you look it up, and all of a sudden the next few sentences somebody says makes a little bit more sense because now you've got a little bit more context to it.
Sure.
So it kind of works like that too. And that's kind of also how it works more. If you're in a physical conversation with somebody, they could say like, you know, tofa, and you're like, what's that? And they're like, tofa, and you're like, oh, hair, okay. Yeah. Versus if you're just hearing it in a podcast without getting any potential for somebody to explain it to you, you might miss the entire topic. So
yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's all I got for this week.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Well, so everybody watching, we'll be back again for week 12 next week. And I guess that'll make the last one in the series, won't it? That'll be 90 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll be back next week for the last video. If you like this video and you want to see more like it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe right now so you can see tons of other videos. Also, head over to our website, JinbuPal.com, where there's tons of other blog posts to supplement everything on this channel. And also, that's where you'll be able to download the JinbuPal app once it's live. So come back and join us again next week. And we'll talk again next week, David. Later.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Bye.